The stage is set and the pieces are moving, but it feels like nobody wants the Dodgers to win this thing. However, are we so certain that the Blue Jays can pull off the upset?
When that final out is made, you know it's time for Locked On MLB Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before. Only on Locked On MLB Game Night. Your team every day.
Welcome into a very special Locked On MLB Game Night. As we get set for the World Series, I wanted to bring all of us together. I know that we have been bringing you the local host coverage every single day throughout the entire season. And as we get set for Dodgers Blue Jays, we want to give you our thoughts on what's going to happen in the finale. I can't say the word finale of the 2025 season. We've got, of course, Steve Lennox from the Locked On Red Sox postcast, and of course, Locked On MLB Game Night. All of us are the Locked On MLB Game Night hosts. JD Haffron, Locked On Cardinals, Brian Meehan, one half of Locked On Yankees, Lindsey Crosby from Locked On Braves postcast, and John Frisch, one half of Locked On Angels, and I am Jeff Carr, one half of Locked On Reds and the Locked On MLB channel manager. We're glad that you're alongside us here today. This special game night is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app today, create an account, and your first $5 wager can get you $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download that app today. All right, gentlemen, as we look at this World Series, it feels like everybody's blaming the Dodgers for all of the problems in the world, or baseball, one of the two. I can't tell which one that is, but they're blaming the Dodgers for everything, and the Blue Jays are everybody's favorite team right now. So as we go into this special show, I want to start with predictions, and Steve, we'll start with you. What are you predicting for this World Series?
Great, because Brian already thinks I'm crazy, and he may very well be right. But I do want to think the Blue Jays win this, having home field advantage. It gets back to Toronto, whether they're up in the series and they have to go home, or down in the series they have to go home and win two. I do want to believe right now. Bichette's a big part of it. Home field advantage is part of it. Blue Jays in 6 or 7. You can take it. I do want 7 because it's only been one time in the last 7 years where we've had a full World Series go the distance.
JD, it seemed like there was like 150 million people in the waiting line to get tickets in Toronto. I saw all the different Twitter posts from different folks that were trying to get tickets up there in Toronto. Are you following Steve's lead?
No, I'm not. I get the whole country is in their corner, and I don't know how much of America really wants the Dodgers to win, to be honest, because not everybody is a big fan of how they were able to put this squad together. But I just have watched them go 9-1 in the playoffs, and I've seen some of their better players not do anything, like Freddie Freeman. He hasn't even shown up yet in the playoffs, and yet they still went 9-1 and pretty much just walked their way through to the World Series. So I find it very hard to believe that starting rotation is going to collapse. So give me the Dodgers, but I'll be nice and say Dodgers in 6. I'll say Toronto takes a couple.
Brian, are we seeing a back-to-back World Series champs here in LA?
We are, and I think we'll know by the middle of next week. I don't think this series is going very long at all, to be honest with you. Here's the thing. Like JD just said, he doesn't think the starting rotation is going to collapse. Even if part of it does, there's 3 aces behind that. They're so loaded, and their depth is so deep that I don't think it really matters. And my biggest concern with the Dodgers coming in was their bullpen. And if it would be able to hold up all that money they spent on the bullpen in the offseason, that you kind of thought, well, all these guys were awful this year. Are they going to be able to handle things in the postseason? They took some of their ace starters and put them in the bullpen, and they're pitching like elite bullpen arms. So I don't see the weakness on this Dodger team. And when he came to Steve before saying, oh, well, the home field advantage for Toronto, the Dodgers played World Series games in Yankee Stadium last year, and it didn't bother them. So I don't think Toronto's going to bother them much. And when it comes to, Bichette's going to be playing in this series. Bichette is finally healthy, but the Blue Jays refuse to give notice on what his role with the team will be, whether he'll be a pinch hitter or a designated hitter, so we don't really know. And to be honest with you, I don't really believe that he's fully healthy. I think it's one of those, we're going to try and get him in there because we might try to use him at some point. I just don't see where on the roster, the game, the format of the series, whatever it is, where the Blue Jays have the exact advantage here in any aspect of the game. I think it's a quick series, to be honest, guys.
Lindsay, it sounds like Brian thinks that the Dodgers are made up of killer baseball robots, and this is like AI versus the human spirit in the
Kind
Blue
of.
Jays. So are you going with the human spirit with Toronto?
I think kind of similar to what JD said. I think Toronto has a better chance than a lot of people are giving them. So something like a 6 games, it's not going to be like a quick 5-game knockout and be done thing. But I do think that this ends up being a Los Angeles win. It might be 6, it might be 7, simply because, to Brian's point, there's so much depth on this Dodgers team that you have your stars not really playing like stars, and they're still 9-1. You have your bullpen still being a little bit shaky outside of Sasaki and the starters, and they're still 9-1. Toronto's one of the best defensive teams in the postseason, one of the best contact hitting teams in the postseason. They don't strike out a lot. They play good defense. But at a certain point, the Dodgers are just that good where it's going to be inevitable. And over a long enough series, the Dodgers' talent's going to win out.
John, is it time for your old friend to get a ring?
Which old friend? We're talking about Ohtani? He's got one. He's got one already, and he's going to get 2, in my opinion, Jeff. Because look, as much as I love the Blue Jays right now, and not just because they're facing the Dodgers. I mean, I'm a huge Vladdy Jr. fan, obviously, for everything his dad did for my favorite team. That's my favoritism is there, my fan heart is there. But if I'm going to be a true baseball analyst, I'm going to say it's the Dodgers. Now, I don't think that the Blue Jays are going to win 1 game. I think that this does go 6. I think it's going to be a really good matchup that I'm really looking forward to watching. But look, we're sitting here talking about the Blue Jays versus the Dodgers and, the Dodgers depth and everybody they have lined up and stacked up and all that stuff. We'd be having this conversation if it wasn't the Blue Jays. We'd be talking, if it was another team in the World Series. In fact, somebody in our comments on last night's show with JD and I said Dodgers Phillies was their World Series because it was more interesting to them. Now, I think the Blue Jays are a better team, but all of that to say, no matter who is facing the Dodgers, we're having the same conversation about, they got all these starting pitchers and all this depth and their superstars are asleep, but they're still 9-1, right? Like we're still having this conversation.
Yeah.
But I think the Blue Jays are the best chance to actually do something. However, I'm not ready to say that they can beat the Dodgers just yet.
I feel like the entire regular season they spent like load managing for the playoffs or something. It felt like the Dodgers always knew the moment that October started. All right,
don't bring that NBA talk to Major League Baseball.
Well, and I mean, even up your neck of the woods, they always said that the Patriots didn't think that the NFL season started until the playoffs got going, and so that's kind of how it felt like for this Dodgers team, because the moment the wild card started with the Reds, it just looked like the Reds were just getting smashed and ran over, and there was absolutely no chance for them to even think about it. As much as the Dodgers bullpen tried to keep them in the game, in each game that they lost, there's not been a point that I've looked at and said, boy, somebody else is going to get to this bullpen, because they've just been able to hold on. I think I'm with the majority, unfortunately, Steve. I think I'm picking the Dodgers as well. Like, I have a hard time. This kind of feels like the team that until I see somebody beat them, I cannot pick against them. And that's just really where, like, I think all of America is with this, because the favorite, I mean, they're minus 225 on FanDuel. The Blue Jays are home underdogs in game 1. Like, all of the good vibes surrounding Toronto cannot penetrate the cold, hard truth that is the Los Angeles Dodgers.
I've been the greater fool before. I'll do it again.
Well, I know this. There's so many different matchups in this series, and I think that it's obvious who you could pick for World Series MVP or something like that, because we just saw the best postseason performance by any one player in any one game by Shohei Ohtani. But there's definitely a lot of scenarios that could play out in this series, and we're going to look at those coming up next. Let's be honest. Most of us can't even name all of our financial accounts, or let alone what they're worth. Between 401ks, savings, and investments, it's easy to lose track. And that can mean leaving money on the table. That's why I started using Monarch. It's an all-in-one financial tool for your personal finances that brings together your accounts in one easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. It's helped me organize my accounts, track my spending, and get a better handle on my investments without ever having to touch a spreadsheet, because Lord knows I ain't doing that. And I love that I can review everything with my partner and see our shared goals and make better financial decisions together and make them easier. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com and code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. This episode is also brought to you by Prize Picks. Every day we make decisions, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement this football season and through the World Series as well on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Because when you play Prize Picks, it's such a fun and simple way to add more excitement to every sporting event that you watch, whether it's football, the World Series, or even basketball. NBA is going up now, and you can put together all sorts of cross-sports lineups, or they've got this great new feature where you can pick multiple statistics for one player, and you just pick more or less, because that's the deal, right? You pick multiple players, multiple statistics, and you click more or less on those. And you're just playing against the system. You're not playing against millions of other people and with little chance to win. It's you against the computer. Download Prize Picks today and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup over on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Thank you for making Locked On MLB Game Night part of your night, part of your day, depending on whenever you're watching or listening to this. We appreciate you following us along. We will be with you all throughout the rest of this World Series, covering every game, every night. And you've also got Sully covering the league at large every single day as well here on Locked On MLB. All right, so I'm not going to ask who's going to be the MVP and all this other stuff, because I think we're going to say Shohei Ohtani. But I want to ask this. Why would the Dodgers lose the World Series?
I went first earlier.
Okay. Yeah, John, I'll start with you.
All right. If the Blue Jays handle the Dodgers starting pitching the way that they ought to, it's going to be making them pitch to the Blue Jays. JD and I have discussed this many times on game night. He put this idea in my head, so I blame him. When you watch the Reds face the Dodgers, it was attack, attack, attack. Attack that first pitch, attack that second pitch, put it in play, ground out, fly out, done. Yep. Then you watch the Brewers do the exact same thing. And so I've said many times, the Brewers and the Blue Jays feel like very similar teams in the sense that they put the ball in play, they do the little things well, they go first to third, they do all that stuff right. They'll go the opposite way, everything. I think that they're a better team than the Brewers. But if they are attacking pitch 1, pitch 2 on Blake Snell, I'm going to lose my freaking mind, because that guy has 5 walks across this entire postseason when, what'd you say last night, JD? He usually has 5 walks in a game. And so
5 walks in 4 innings is more like his normal pace. So it was weird to see him not have those issues.
Exactly. So if the Blue Jays go out there hacking like all the other teams the Dodgers have faced in this postseason, then they're not going to win. And if they have any chance at all, it's to, get through the starter and get to the bullpen. And the bullpen might be way better than it has been all season, because it's not even most of the same guys anymore, other than like Vesia and Trinan. And I think Tanner Scott is back, right? So all that to say that they can't make the same mistakes that the other teams have made in this series so far.
Yeah, I feel like they don't take advantage. Nobody counts like time of possession in baseball, because that's not a real thing. But it feels like that the Dodgers have just owned time of possession, hitting, as opposed to other teams, whether the Reds, the Brewers, even the Phillies to an extent were very aggressive.
I need Ernie Clement to have a 19 pitch at bat. That's what I want. And so that's my FanDuel. Take the over 18.5. Take it all.
Lindsay, I think I saw that Ernie Clement had more hits than the Brewers as a whole in the LCS round.
Yeah, and my point is similar to John's, because there's things that these two teams do really well when it's a strength-on-strength matchup. The Dodgers, regular season, the Dodgers led baseball with 1,505 strikeouts from their pitching staff. Regular season, the Blue Jays led baseball in batting average at 265. So to kind of John's point a little bit, if the Blue Jays can get deep into counts, if they can put the ball into play and make some of these suspect LA defenders, I'm thinking about your outfield corners, a little bit of third base, second base. If you can make some of these not fantastic defenders have to run and cover, execute their throws. Look at the game that LA lost to Philly. Yamamoto gives them a 3-run inning. One of those is a throwing error. I mean, it was a throwing error on a ball put into play that should have been an out. So if LA loses, it's because Toronto sticks with the game plan. Ernie Clement has long at-bats. They put a lot of balls in play, and LA just can't execute on defense, giving Toronto opportunities.
Yeah, I feel like there's definitely some weaknesses in the armor there, Brian, and it's got to be that defense, and it's got to be the bullpen. It's just, it feels like everything else has been so strong for them this postseason that you can't get to that point.
Yeah, I've got a little bit of a differing opinion on this, though. I kind of think the way to stop the Dodgers in most points is their depth. Don't let those guys beat you, because the Ohtanis, the Mookie Betts, the Freddie Freeman, they're going to get theirs. They're some of the best players in all of baseball. Like, I don't think there's a strategy in stopping Shohei Ohtani from producing or a strategy in stopping Freddie Freeman from producing. They got their 9-figure contract for a reason. The strategy here is not letting their depth pieces beat you. And who's the guy that always comes to mind who basically has a contract because he hits in the month of October? Kike Hernandez.
Yep.
Don't let him beat you. The Pawheads of the world.
Kike.
the Pawheads of the world. The Max Muncies of the world, who I know we think of Max Muncy as a big-time name, but over the last couple of years, average has really dipped. Don't let those guys beat you. Again, the Ohtanis, the Mookie Betts, Freddie, they're going to get theirs no matter what you do. No matter who you pitch against them, those guys they're going to get their hits. But don't let Ohtani get up with guys on base, because at the end of the day, if Kike and Max Muncy get on at the end of that lineup, and then you're turning it over to Ohtani and to Betts and to Freeman, that's when those guys hit their 3-run homers and break the game open and silence the crowd in Toronto. You have to, if you're going to give up a home run to Ohtani, make sure it's a solo shot. If you're going to give up a double to Mookie Betts, make sure it's not driving in 3 runs because the bases were loaded. That's what you have to do. Keep their depth off the base paths and allow those guys to beat you in the most minimal ways they can possibly do it.
And it feels like, JD, we're talking about the Blue Jays matchups against certain Dodgers pitchers. Are there any Blue Jays pitchers that you could see that really could limit the Dodgers lineup?
Well, Savage is somebody that intrigues me just because, and if you've watched the playoffs, they talk about, his arm slot and how it's just so weird and it's funky. And that's why people have an issue with him. Not seeing much of him, obviously would be a good thing for Toronto, because there's not a lot of tape on him so far. So he's somebody that, could make a difference. What about the left-handed relievers that are going to have to show up in certain situations to handle the Ohtanis and the Freemans, and because how the Dodgers have the right-handed heavy lineup, but there's those big guys that are lefties, and will the Blue Jays be able to counter with enough left-handed pitching out of their bullpen to do it, because their starters are not left-handed? So who's going to be able to handle those situations? I feel like that's going to be a very interesting matchup, and to see if they can get them out of situations when those lefties come up with runners on base, because it's going to happen. Easier said than done, right? You're only talking about Ohtani and Freeman, and it's not like it's going to be simple, but those are the matchups that if Toronto's going to win this thing, they're going to have to win those specific matchups as well.
It kind of feels like, Steve, for you to be right, Kevin Gossman's got to have a big series. Is that fair enough to say?
It's exactly where I was going to start, Kevin Gossman.
Sorry to take the words out of your mouth there.
No, that's okay. The last time I was at Fenway, Kevin Gossman was on the mound for the Blue Jays. Vladdy hit a home run. That's going back a couple of years. And I know I'm going off strength and, experience. But yeah, I mean, saying that going against everyone, and obviously legit points of the Dodgers are going to win this, whether it's 5, 6, 7, possibly. The Blue Jays, they don't have to play perfect, but they just have to capitalize when Teoscar Hernandez takes the wrong route on a baseball. And not only capitalize in that instance, but also add on. As Lindsay said, you've got to make them pay for their mistakes. It's getting the Dodgers on their heels, which they haven't been in this postseason at any point. You also maybe have to get Dave Roberts, who's had both managers have been very good in so far handling their bullpens, which is certainly going to be a big one. But how do you get Dave Roberts to, it's great that your starters were able to go 8, but how do you, how all of a sudden are you going to implement your plan if one of these guys, and they're sort of capable, Snell, Glass now, right, maybe they're up at 95 pitches through 4 1/3 innings or 3 3 3/3. And John and JD, you alluded to the walks. Can the Blue Jays do that? They're going to have to they don't have to play perfect, but they can't make mistakes. They can't beat themselves. Cliche, I know. But when the Dodgers do something that they can turn into a positive on the other side and the other dugout, they've got to be able to do it from the get-go, game 1.
There's definitely a lot to this World Series when it comes to the Dodgers, but also from the Blue Jays side of things as well. And it feels like it is literally a worldwide World Series that's coming in. Coming up next, I want to get each of your takes as like, what is the one thing that you want to see from these next 4 to 7 games? Hopefully 7 games. We need as much baseball as possible around here. The NFL is rolling along. NCAA football, of course, is too. The NBA season has begun. NHL's going on. We've got the World Series. It's one of the best times of the year to be a sports fan and one of the best times of the year that you can think of to head on over to FanDuel. That's why they've got this great introductory offer. If you place your first $5 wager and it wins, you get $300 in bonus bets, and you can look at all things World Series with those odds. FanDuel's got the Dodgers favored to win the series, minus 220 on the series. And they feel pretty good about that one. If you feel pretty good about anything, you place a $5 wager. Like I said, you get $300 in bonus bets if it's your first $5 winning wager. Head on over to FanDuel right now and download that app today. And let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress. I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support, and that's where Rugiet comes in. Rugiet.com offers fast-acting doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rugiet makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online with no awkward waiting rooms and no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit rugiet.com/LockedOnMLB and you'll get 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com/LockedOnMLB. And don't forget to use the code LockedOnMLB so that they know that we sent you. Rugiet, stop making excuses and start making moves. Thanks again for checking out today's Locked On MLB Game Night. If you can't watch us on YouTube, you can always listen to us on your favorite podcast app because we are free and available everywhere you get your podcast. All right, here we go. The series begins on Friday night, and there's going to be a lot of fun involved. Do we think Shohei Ohtani is going to hit 4 homers and strike out 12? Do we think that Vladdy's going to hit 4 homers himself? Like, what all are we looking for in this series? Because it feels like there's so much to get to. And Steve, we'll start with you.
Vladdy's got to do well for them to win. 4 home runs. I like that number. I again, watching the Red Sox and Blue Jays in the AL East, and even watching the Blue Jays when they played the Yankees in the AL East the last couple of years, this is where they've wanted to be, and they've gotten here. And I put a lot of stock into that. But as Lindsay can say during our shows, we love the role guys. We love the role guys with the Mariners. They didn't get there, and they still have not been to the World Series in franchise history. But, the Bargers, Vladdy does his part, but the Bargers, the Clements who we taught, Ernie, come on, like Miles Strauss, you going to do something? And then, you got New Britain, Connecticut's own George Springer, who just had a beautiful moment to help them win and get to the World Series. I think there's more in the tank for him. I think again, they've got to be better every single game, even if in losing efforts. They've got to understand we're back at it next game and we're in this. And I just think there's a psyche with the Blue Jays that I've seen when they played AL East teams, and I've been able to watch them on TV. I just think they're there, and this is going back to Toronto from LA. Whether it's 6 or 7, I don't know. Just one World Series in the last 7 years has gone 7 games, and that was the one where nobody won at home between the Astros and Nationals. We've had a great postseason. We're deserving. Baseball's deserving. We're deserving as fans, as doing the show and being, part of it. We're deserving of 7 games.
JD, what stands out to you the most about this series?
I'm always going to go to starting pitching first. When Shohei Ohtani is the 4th guy on your rotation, things are pretty good for what you got going on. If the Blue Jays are going to, as we've discussed, if the Blue Jays are going to make a fight out of this and push this to 6 games, 7 games, whatever they need to do, it's going to be those bottom guys that are going to have to wear out the starting pitcher so that by the time that lineup flips again and you get the big guys coming up, they got to be worn down. They got to be, working on, one of the first relievers by 5th inning. And even if you are bringing in one of your rotation guys in the bullpen, whatever, it's still weird. Dave Roberts hasn't had to make any decisions whatsoever. Do I leave these guys in that are basically throwing shutouts? Oh, really tough. He's got to make him make some moves and try to decide some things because they just haven't had to do that so far. It's been so easy for them. And the Blue Jays are a team that I've been extremely impressed with the entire season. And if there was a team that was going to kind of harass the Dodgers a little bit and kind of annoy them, it would be the Blue Jays. That would be the team that I thought was going to be the one that did it. When I was looking at the matchup, whether it was going to be Seattle or Toronto, I thought the Dodgers would have an easier time with Seattle just because of the free swinging ability that they have over there in Seattle. Whereas the Blue Jays they're like gnats. They just pest at you. And then the big guys take advantage of you when you're finally worn down. That's how they get it done. Can they do it? That's the real question. It's going to be awfully difficult with the rotation that the Dodgers are going to toss out there.
Yeah, it kind of feels like the hardest that Dave Roberts has worked is whenever he pulled Emmett Sheehan with 2 strikes against Will Benson. And then, he did that and Terry Francona brought in a pinch hitter. Anyway, we're not going to rehash that. Brian, what are you looking for most in this series?
Yeah, I want to see if the perception of the Dodgers as a franchise changes. You mentioned this at the start of the show. The fact that the Dodgers have become this ultra villain in sports and baseball, and everyone seems to be rooting for the Blue Jays, and everyone wants the Dodgers to lose. And can I collectively kind of ask you guys why that is? Is it because the Dodgers are just good? And I'll tell you this, I can answer for all of you, I think. I think it's all just built on jealousy. I think we all just wish that our teams would run themselves that way. I think we all just wish that we could win a World Series and then the next that free agency be involved in every single free agent contract that's out there. Go revamp our already good bullpen. Have 9 elite starting pitchers. Have a full lineup. I think this is all
and by the way, they have this amazing farm system behind all of that.
Yeah. And they're not afraid to make trades. They're not afraid to trade their top prospects and bring in guys at the deadline every single year.
And when you say farm system, you mean Japan, right? Because they just cycle them in. No big deal. We'll take all your best players.
The world is the farm system for the Dodgers.
LA and have a good time.
Yeah. It is true though with all these things, and I do think that it's all built on just jealousy. I don't think it's built on pure hatred, because what is there really to hate about the Dodgers? That they have, okay, maybe not. They have the greatest player in the last 100 years playing for their team. Oh, they have maybe the greatest Japanese pitcher of all time on their team. They have Mookie Betts on their team. They have all these exciting, lovable, likable players. Who's the guy on the Dodgers that is easy to hate, that everyone doesn't like? They don't have that on their roster. They don't have that on their team. So I sit here and try to think.
Marlins fans know. Marlins fans know.
I sit here as a Yankee fan, someone who watched this team beat my team and embarrass my team nationally in the World Series last year. And I left that World Series thinking, why do we hate them? Because they just won, and because they're really good, and because they're really good at doing things, and because, truth be told, that's exactly the way that I wish all of my favorite teams across all of sports would operate. So I'm interested to see if the perception changes to the first lovable dynasty ever, or do people just continue to hate them because they're good?
I'm just going to make sure that Harry and Travis have your number. That way we can get you on Locked On Dodgers and talk about how big of a Dodgers fan you are coming up here very soon. Lindsay, what are you looking for most in this World Series?
My favorite thing about the postseason in general, and the World Series specifically, is when a guy, a role player kind of guy, has a chance to become a legend. Like David Freese will never have to buy his own beer in St. Louis ever again from the 2011 World Series, right? And so seeing who is that underrated role player that steps up and has a big series or just a single big moment. Andy Pages is batting under 100 as the center fielder in the postseason for the Dodgers. Does he get a clutch hit when Teoscar and all them can't come through? You know, the Blue Jays, if Bichette's back and he has to DH, they're going to have to move things around and like put Ernie Clement at second so they can move Addison Barger from right to third base so that George Springer can be in the field. And like, does Barger make a huge defensive play at third base? Like, it's all of that stuff. Who's that one guy who is kind of under the radar in a star-laden World Series that's going to end up having an outsized impact? That's my favorite part of the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see who we are not expecting to step up, really be a big thing. That's why I kind of go back to Kevin Gausman. Like, I kind of feel like he's going to be that guy, at least on the Blue Jays side of things, where it's like he's not had the best season. He's definitely had a lot of better seasons in his career, but could the World Series be that point when he just absolutely goes crazy? And John, take us home here. What is it?
You know, I love a good underdog story, and I understand that you have the 7th highest payroll in baseball facing the 1st highest payroll in baseball. So not really any underdogs here, but I do like the fact that there are a lot of unsung heroes on this Blue Jays team. And you're talking about the Nathan Lucases and the Addison Bargers and the Ernie Clements. And, you know, I'm reminded of 2019, Howie Kendrick getting the NLCS MVP. You know, he's my guy. He used to play for the Angels and was one of my favorite second basemen. Seeing guys like that step up and have a moment and earn, you know, an MVP trophy, whether it's the CS or the World Series. I love a good underdog story. I love the unsung heroes. We know everybody's name on the Dodgers. We don't know everybody's name on the Blue Jays unless you're a real diehard fan or you watch MLB Game Night. But it's stuff like that I love seeing guys step up in those situations. So again, I'm picking the Dodgers, but I think it would just be a lot of fun for this Blue Jays team to find a way to beat this juggernaut and do it in the World Series. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
As a wise man once said, life finds a way. And maybe the Blue Jays can too. He didn't add that part in there at the end. This has been a special Locked On MLB Game Night. I appreciate you so much for joining us here today. For Steve Lennox, who's having some technical difficulties, and that's why he had to drop off there at the end if you missed him there.
He didn't charge his battery. What a nerd.
For JD Haffern, for Brian McKeon, for Lindsey Crosby, for John Frisch, I'm Jeff Carr. Thank you so much for watching this Locked On MLB Game Night. We'll be with you all throughout the World Series.